Well, look, my dad, he did karate before I was born. So, he was some of my early memories. He was always like beating us up. He's always doing spinning back kicks and, saying, what's the back kick? What's the front kick? And, he's just rumbling with me and my brother all the time, I remember he brought home from the video store Revenge of the Ninja and Enter the Ninja. There were some ninja movies back in the day. They starred Sho Kosugi, who was like the original sort of Hollywood ninja at the time. And they just had a massive impact. I was a massive Star Wars fan and I love Luke Skywalker. And, I think being a ninja was probably the closest I could ever get to being like a Jedi. So yeah, that really sparked my interest 100%. But it wasn't until I got till about 12 that I started training. And I think I drifted in and out of it through the early teenage years. Like I started training Goshin-Ryu karate with my dad. But, I had a lot of other things going on. I was a massive, I loved skateboarding. I loved hip hop. There was so many other distractions in the city. So I drifted in and out of it, but sort of really got into it when I think I was about 15, got into Goshin-Ryu karate. And I loved it. I loved it. I was training like 3 or 4 times a week. I was competing in tournaments. We're doing like point style type of fighting. It was really my main focus, and that kind of kept me off the street. A lot of my friends were sort of doing some really dumb stuff at the time, and which is fine. But it sort of kept me focused, and I was able to steer clear from a lot of the stuff that was happening around me. I got my provisional black belt in about 4 years, and I think I was state champion there. I think I got a state title once in points one in Kumite. I loved Kumite. I loved sparring. Kata wasn't really my thing, but it was part of martial arts. So I just really loved the training. And I loved the progress, and it just really did me a lot of good in those teenage years. For sure. So I stuck with it, but eventually I started snowboarding. First time I went snowboarding, I was like, that's it. This is what I'm going to do. I come from a skateboarding background, and, I just fell in love with snowboarding, and I was just like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. So I did that for nearly 10 years. It took me on an amazing journey all around the world. Got to judge competitions and run competitions, run events, build half pipes. And, I think that was really something that I was meant to do, because so many doors just opened up for me while I was doing it. I had an amazing time, but I couldn't really commit to martial arts while I was doing that. Admittedly, I was kind of partying a lot as well, and just sort of living that snowboarder lifestyle. A lot of fun. But, that sort of finished up for me when I was around 30. And, I wasn't skating anymore. I wasn't snowboarding. I wasn't doing any activity. And, the UFC was really getting some play now through through Foxtel, through some of the shows on Foxtel. I'd known about the UFC for forever, really, from its conception through Fighting Arts magazine. I'd always read all the stories, and I just sort of made the decision to go back to martial arts, because I always wanted to confirm my black belt. With Goshin-Ryu, you get your black belt provisionally, and then you have to go through pretty much the whole process again to get it confirmed, and you have to learn new katas, and there's a little bit more to it. So it's quite a whole process to have a confirmation of a black belt through Goshin-Ryu, which is something that I really respect in that club. It's definitely not, you don't pay the money and you get your belt. There's definitely a lot of time and effort that need to go into it. And I stepped back into martial arts. There's a lot of things that I could just pick up and do straight away. I had a lot of muscle memory from those early years, but there was a lot of things that I needed to relearn, like all the katas, for example. I was never a kata person. I kind of thought that I would breeze through the confirmation grading, because I'd had that such a strong past. But realistically, it took me another 4 years to get to a standard to confirm my grade. So that was a good. I really wanted to tick that off. That was something that I wanted to finalize. It was always something in the back of my mind, like, Ben, you really need to confirm your grade. So I was really happy to do that. Then after that, I just kind of, if I was to progress further in karate, and I loved karate, but if I was to progress further, it meant driving around to the different dojos around the city. The traffic in Sydney is nothing like it used to be. I was able to do that quite easily, when I was a teenager, but I think I just needed to change. Langy's MMA was, it's Sydney's first MMA school, Sydney's first BJJ school. It's been there forever. I lived just on the next block. My parents bought a house just in Manly, just on the next block from Langy's. And it was somewhere that I always wanted to train. I never knew anything about jiu-jitsu or anything like that, but I just knew it looked like a legitimate club, like had no bells and whistles. It was it just looked like a place that I wanted to train. And I always popped my head in there and had a bit of a look because I was just so close to it. And then eventually it just made the change. I was just like, okay, I'm going to go and do Muay Thai. So I still haven't rolled yet. I still haven't done jiu-jitsu, but I've been training Muay Thai for at least probably the last 8 years now through Langy's. Just been amazing. Just loved every minute of it. The instructors there are fantastic. It's been a really learning process, adapting my karate techniques to the Muay Thai techniques, and learning what works for me and what doesn't work for me. And I'm getting a bit older now too. So I can't sort of train or do some of the things that I used to do. But just sort of switching to Muay Thai and karate and Muay Thai are predominantly the same. They're striking arts, but they're different in their approach. The kicks are different, the punches are different, the blocking is different, the movement's different, the footwork.